Hi, beautiful divine souls. This is Lisa Falcon G with Universal Hidden Insight. And today I wanted to kind of just do a pulse check with everybody. Right now, we have a lot of big things that are happening, and a lot of people, I think, are getting really upset, and understandably so. And if you're not upset, you might not be paying a lot of attention right now. So, I want to try to give some helpful perspective to this, and I know that coming from the perspective of someone who is a white woman, I will not be able to say things perfectly, and I will do the very best that I can from my highest heart and highest self to do justice to this situation as far as speaking up for what's right and standing up for everybody that I love, which is all of humanity. Um, we're all one family, everyone is equal. It's so discouraging that there is so much hatred and there's so much ignorance that's still happening now. And I think that it has existed, it's existed this whole time, and it's kind of coming to the surface right now. And as I've gone through my journey of doing this, really, really intense self-healing, I'm starting to look at how I can apply those principles to, the current situation. So when you're looking at self-healing, you're basically starting to take responsibility for, what part do I play in what I'm perpetuating in my life? What do I need to learn from the lessons of my history? And what lessons can I take out of that? And how can I move forward and stop the cycle? Basically, change the internal thought patterns and emotions that are continually creating either disease or patterns in our life that we don't want. So if you kind of look at that on a collective level, that kind of turns it back on us. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that I'm seeing right now is that so many people are pointing fingers. And I think that we can all, the majority of us that are decent people that are at least somewhat connected within ourselves, can look at the exceptions to that, that there are definitely huge contributors to this hate and this ignorance. And uh, with all the rationality that people can pull together to not allow us to go into a place of fear, and to kind of just keep in check the perspective that it is a very small group of very, very disconnected individuals who I in no way necessarily sympathize with, but I also wouldn't necessarily say that I would condone any hate towards them either, because hate just continuously perpetuates hate, and it's such a dangerous thing. And I think a lot of the times we're saying, no, you should be doing this, and no, you should be doing that, when we really just need to point the finger back at ourselves and ask, what am I doing? All we can do as individuals is be responsible for what we're contributing to this. And I think if we can take responsibility and really deeply look at how we're each contributing in our daily lives and in what we're, doing in each of our interactions and all our little opportunities we have that come up throughout the day, to either kind of feed into division and fear and perpetuate, this climate of disconnection from each other, or feed love and compassion and understanding and connection into that. We have opportunities like that all day long. And every time that you choose to connect with people, and that's my greatest weapon in this. And I don't want to think of it as a weapon, but more of a tool, but is to just walk as deeply in peace that I can, to be that much more the stronger I see the hate, the stronger that I try to come back at it with even greater love. And with every interaction with my family, with strangers, with people at work, with people as I'm driving, I'm trying to be as compassionate as I can possibly be, to try to make as many connections as I can, to really try to engage with people that are from all different walks of life. I think that's so important. And as we do that, that's an incredibly healing factor, and we are then changing those, collective internal thought patterns that have been perpetuating this climate that we're seeing. Everything, if we take it as like in our life as an individual, if we're seeing things manifesting in our life, they're usually a reflection of what's going on inside of us. So if we're looking at all this disconnection and this anger and this hostility and these wars being fought, if you want to look on a global scale, then what are we doing to contribute to that within ourselves? What wars are we still fighting within ourselves? What ways are we disconnecting with ourselves? And I think that as we connect within ourselves and as we allow ourselves to be a force that is aligned within ourselves, loving as many people as we can, that's the best thing that we can do. And I think it's so important that if you see, if you see somebody say something that is ignorant, educate them, enlighten them. Don't let don't let somebody go undefended. And I think there's a right way to do that where we're not blaming anybody, where we're not accusing anybody, um, and maybe we're kind of bringing somebody back to the good side. So I know that this is a really difficult way to look at it, and I know that a lot of people might not be ready to say, yes, I've been contributing to this in my own way, but we're each contributing to what we're seeing in this world, and it's reflecting back to us a picture that we don't want to see. It's not what we want to see. We want to see peace. The majority of us want to live in equality and peace and happiness and safety for our families. That's what we want, and we want equal opportunities. And there's so many of us that are working towards that. We're working towards equality. Um, there's so many great activists that are doing all this groundwork to help improve all these different situations that we're going through, collectively, and we're in this together. And, I've seen a lot of people who were already connected that are, kind of dividing just over the semantics of just the right way to kind of address this. And that's really sad because then that's still kind of that side is winning, that they're successfully able to divide us. Um, if you can kind of look back over the past decade, the past 2 decades, and just look at the social programming of what they've tried to do with us to just divide and conquer us. If we're fighting amongst ourselves, how can we truly make a difference against, the bigger players, the bigger institutions that are really doing a lot of harm to the world around us, especially if we're looking at what the United States has been doing across the world. And again, I know that that's a difficult message because there are still a lot of people who feel like, oh, we're bringing justice and we're bringing democracy. And I think that you really need to deeply research that and try to research and understand what's uh, the perspective of the places that we're occupying, and looking at what's really happening and how many civilians have died, how many hundreds of thousands of people have died and been misplaced, and children. Um, it's a crisis, and it's not a crisis of the world. It's a crisis of what we've been doing within ourselves. And that's what we have to get to the heart of. We have to come here. It always comes back to this. So I hope that this gives some perspective, and I hope that this lights a candle and some hope and some light in this dark, dark situation. I think right now, excuse me, I think right now there's such an influx of people that are starting to really awaken and really start to recognize how powerful we can make a difference, especially when we're coming from a place of love and coming from a place of harmony, and trying to build these bridges. And I think that there's a real scramble, and the media is definitely capitalizing on the fact that they can kind of paint a reality, um, and direct it whatever way they want to. And a lot of people, with lack of doing the critical thinking, independent research that's required, um, it's really easy for us to get into a place of fear. And again, we can't allow that to happen. When we're coming from fear, that's the total opposite vibration of love. So we have to do everything we can to anchor love, to be love, to keep a clear head, to really do our own research, to be aware of what is happening, not just in our nation, but also around the world and what we're affecting. Um, Speak up for everyone, speak up for the people that are having such a difficult time. There's so much anger and there's so much hurt, and we have to look at the lessons of history. We have to look at our collective past and look at the Holocaust and look at the Native American genocide and look at the absolutely horrific enslavement and rape and torment of the the Black African American community. We have to be able to really truly look at that so that we can learn the lessons. And the lessons are that we cannot divide against each other. We can't put some people in one category and other people in another, that we are equal, that it's a tapestry, everything's connected. We're gonna repeat the same lesson if we can't get it now. And I think people are ready to get it now. So do everything you can to hold your light, stand in peace, walk in peace, say something if somebody is in any kind of a situation where ignorance is coming up, and with love, and make that clarification that I say this from a place of love, and I know that you might not realize that you are being ignorant, or that you're being offensive, or that you're being racist, and just allow people to get a better perspective. Some people might not realize, how they sound or how they're coming across, and we're all helping each other. That's what we should be doing, is aiming towards the goal of making this better. So we have to work together. We got to work together. You're each so important. We are each playing a divine role here. I truly believe that we're all absolutely essential to what's happening. Please do your part. Know that you are deeply loved and supported, and we are each guided if we call on it. Just align within that. And until next time.